My name is Chico Penn, and this documentary is about
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
And the Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor was Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor. All of y'all who think we need more evidence, you goofy. I said arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor. And Elijah McClain too. Y'all hold that boy, arrest the killers.
Before the headlines, before the protests, Breonna Taylor was a daughter, a sister, a friend. Born in Grand Rapids, Michigan on June 5th, 1993, Breonna was raised by her mother, Tamika, and her younger sister, Janiyah. She was a high school honor student who loved math, and her teachers described her as a leader with a kind heart. In 2011, she began studying at the University of Kentucky, but later returned home to focus on building her life. She worked hard to fix her credit, buy a car, and save for a home. She became an emergency medical technician in 2016. And by 2020, she was working 2 hospital jobs on the front lines during the COVID-19 pandemic. Her dream was to become a neonatal nurse, but sadly, that would all come to an end. On March 12, 2020, Breonna and her boyfriend Kenneth Walker stayed home watching movies. Just after midnight, 3 Louisville police officers, Jonathan Madeline, Brent Hankerson, and Miles Cosgrove, used a battering ram to break down Breonna's door. They were executing a no-knock warrant based on false claims that her apartment was involved in drug activity. The man they were looking for didn't live there and had already been arrested. Kenneth, believing it was a break-in, fired a warning shot. The officers then responded with 32 bullets. Breonna was shot multiple times while unharmed. Kenneth immediately called 911.
911, operator Harris, where is your emergency?
I don't know what happened. Somebody kicked in the door inside my girlfriend.
Where was she shot at?
I don't know. She's on the grill right now. I don't know.
Even after calling 911 and witnessing the death of his girlfriend, Kenneth Walker was arrested on the spot. He was charged with assault and attempted murder of a police officer. But as the public learned more about what happened that night, and outrage spread, the charges were eventually dropped.
Walk straight back or I'll send this dog on you. Walk back to my voice. Walk back or I'll send this dog. Walk back to me. Keep on walking. Walk down. Walk. Lay your hands in the air. Get down on your knees.
Dramatic body.
But while Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, who had been shot in the leg, was rushed to the hospital, Breonna was left on the floor bleeding out.
He's going so slow at this point, and you're in pain. You're just like, just give me somewhere to give me something.
Here. Cut it with my knife. Cut it with my knife. We've got EMS on standby. Where are they?
I've got to get a tourniquet on it, or I'm going to die.
I'm trying to get pressure on it.
If not for the quick actions of officers on the scene.
Check her pulse.
Ma'am, can you hear us? Louisville Metro Police Department. Check that wrist, dude. Check the wrist. Medic up. Medic up.
Breonna's mother, Tamika Palmer, rushed to the hospital, hoping her daughter was alive. She sat in the waiting room for 2 hours, only to be told there's no one here by that name. Confused and desperate, she returned to Breonna's apartment.
I went to the hospital, and they tell me to hold on. So we wait for almost 2 hours. And she comes back and says, well, ma'am, there's no record of this person even being on the way here.
There she found Sergeant Jeffrey Reggie Lane, who was secretly recording her without her consent.
His mom?
Yes.
This is Sergeant Lane, Sergeant Bransview.
Where is Breonna?
Ma'am, she's in the apartment. I'm extremely sorry for your loss.
In interviews, Kenneth Walker has said the police never identified themselves. If they had said it was the police, Breonna would still be alive.
What did you think was at the door if you're saying, who is it, and they're not answering? Because it certainly doesn't sound like a friendly knock.
I didn't have a clue. That's why I grabbed the gun.
Yeah.
Didn't have a clue. I mean, if it was the police at the door and they just said we're the police. Me or Breonna didn't have a reason at all not to open the door and see what they wanted.
But is Breonna Taylor etched in her family's memory?
A friend said she always put others first.
Dancing with friends.
Her death did as leave a family shattered. The life was
Singing her favorite song.
What happened to Breonna Taylor was not just wrong, it was unconstitutional. Her Fourth Amendment rights, which protect against unreasonable search and seizures, were violated when the police entered her home with a no-knock warrant based on false information. They claimed her apartment was connected to drug trafficking. That was a lie. Her civil rights were violated under federal law. Former officer Brent Hankinson was charged in 2024 for firing shots without justification, endangering Breonna and her neighbors. These charges fell under Title 18 U.S. Code Section 242, which makes it a crime for any officer to willfully deprive someone of their constitutional rights. Breonna's 14th Amendment rights were also violated. This amendment guarantees equal protection under the law, but Breonna was denied that protection the moment the officers treated her life as less valuable, failing to give medical help and leaving her on the floor while rushing to help their own. Her death and the lack of charges prove that justice isn't always applied equally.
That we have seen.
Despite national outrage, none of the officers were charged with Breonna's death. Only Brett Hankinson was charged, not for killing her, but for firing recklessly into a neighboring apartment. He was found not guilty in state court and later charged federally in 2024 for violating her civil rights. Protests erupted across Louisville and the nation, not just under the Black Lives Matter movement, but in Breonna's name. People marched, chanted, painted murals, and demanded justice. Breonna's death sparked change. In September 2020, her family won a $12 million settlement. In 2021, Breonna's law was passed in Kentucky, eliminating a no-knock warrant statewide. This project made me realize that justice isn't always guaranteed. Breonna deserved to live, to finish nursing school, to buy a house, to dream. Telling her story matters, because silence helps no one.